Fans, we are back live with another edition of the Cheap Heat Productions Pro Wrestling Podcast. My name is Jack Kilby, Executive Vice President of Great North Wrestling. We have tonight a man who has had just a tremendous career spanning multiple territories, including Georgia, Mid-South, WCW, WWF, and a few points in between. He has a book out on his career that will be giving you the information about how to acquire later in the show, and that would be this one, From the Ring to the Real, Pat Rose biography. Fans, it's a really interesting read, and we'll give you the information about where you can find that. But I'd like to, before we get to Pat, introduce the man whose show this is, Mr. Cheap Heat himself, Morris Shortle, all the way over in the Emerald Isle. Morris, how are you tonight?
Great, Jack. Thanks for the intro, and lovely to talk to Pat here today. And Pat, we're gonna actually start with the sad news. I don't know if you heard that within the last hour that Big Sid had passed away, and we were kind of looking through your match database, and you fought him early on in WCW in '89. I was just wondering if you have any thoughts on Sid Vicious.
Man, Sid was a good guy. You know, I remember, and I had this discussion with a couple of the top guys. I guess they trusted me and they respected my opinion, but we were sitting in Boutwell Auditorium, actually outside, and I was with Sid when he was Lord Humongous. Remember that? Yeah. And he asked me, he says, Pat, what should I do, man? Should I quit? Should I do this? And I said, no. It's not your time. If he would have quit at that time, he would have went nowhere. But look what he's done in his career. You know, I messaged his son, and I told him how good a dad he was and how good a wrestler he was. And it's just very sad that we are losing. I mean, it's part of life, but we are losing a lot of the good people.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking from the experience of Great North Wrestling, we had Sid up for perhaps, I think it may have been his final match as a single here in Canada, about 5 or 6, maybe a little bit more than that. And I had the pleasure of speaking with him last year about bringing him in again, and found him to be very professional and easy to deal with, a genuine nice guy. And again, look at, as you pointed out, Pat, we've lost how many legends in the last year. It's a really sad phenomenon indeed.
I mean, we just lost Kevin Sullivan as well, man, and I knew Kevin a long time. Great booker, great mind in the business.
Wanted to start off by asking a question that helps fans establish a baseline when we're looking at, you know, an individual who's had such an extensive and successful career, and that is, were you a fan of the business growing up? And if so, what was that factor or impetus that made you decide to pursue in-ring competition?
So what was that clicked in my head to know I was going to be a professional wrestler? I wasn't going to take no for an answer. Is that your question? I love it. You know, when I was 12 years old, now Chattanooga wrestling here in Chattanooga, Tennessee, there's a lot of history. There's WWF TV 12, where Nick Gulas Wrestling used to air every Saturday. It would be, depending on football season, it would be anywhere from 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock, but it was mostly 5 o'clock. And when that would air, when it was done at 6 o'clock, you're getting in the car and you're heading to the Memorial Auditorium on a Saturday night to watch Nick Gulas Wrestling. It would sell out. I got to see, this is my favorite teams, the interns with Ken Ramey, the spoilers with Saul Weintraub, them wrestling together. That was the greatest match.
I think you're going to have to get out of the stream and come back in, Pat, because you got a phone call and it knocked your audio off.
Hopefully he'll come back shortly. This is what happens sometimes with the whole StreamYard gimmick. Let's see if he's back. Can we hear you?
Are we still on, boys?
Yeah,
now we got you. Sorry, you got a call.
All right, we're back.
Yes, sir. Sorry, you were talking about going to see. Yes, now we can.
I can't hear you guys now.
Uh-oh.
Can't hear us now? Nope.
Nothing.
No. You may knock him off, Jack.
Yeah.
Hopefully
he comes back. That is the problem with StreamYard and
doing
it on phones.
Yeah. That's what happens with mobile phones, unfortunately, folks. But we'll get back there again.
Yeah, very shocking about, just to bring up Sid one last time, very shocking considering the fact that he was at that huge gathering in the, I forget whether it was in North Carolina somewhere just a couple weeks ago, and signing autographs, meeting his fans, taking pictures, that sort of thing. And nobody had a clue that he was, he had been apparently ill for a year.
Yeah, that's what his son posted on social media. I think he said he had cancer maybe for a year or over. So shocking.
Can you hear us now, Pat?
I can hear you now.
Sorry, that happens sometimes when you get a call on your phone. But you were talking about going to see Nick Gulas wrestling and some of the great teams.
Yeah, some of the great tag teams that I mentioned, the interns. I don't know if you got that, the spoilers. Yep. Jackie Fargo, Luke Graham, Ripper Collins. That was pushy and edgy back in the day, Luke Graham and Ripper Collins. But as I watched that, I would go to the auditorium, and it's a big building, huge, 5,000-6,000 fans. They got a place called the Gold Circle, which is right above where you can see everything going on in the ring. And man, I just decided that I knew what I wanted at 12 years old, and I wasn't going to take no for an answer. How was I going to get there? I don't know. I was 12. But as the time went on, 18, 19, and I met a guy named Ken Hawk that used to manage the original Samoans, Tio and Tapu. Remember them?
Yes, sir.
And yeah, and got to train with Ken Hawk. I trained for 2 weeks because I was a wrestler. I mean, I was an amateur wrestler in high school, did pretty well, and I had an idea. I think I know, but I didn't really know because nobody told me, and you know what I'm talking about. But I trained with him for 2 weeks, and I came back, and I was on Chattanooga TV at WWF TV 12, and I got to wrestle for my first match a gentleman named Ken Lucas that trained Ricky Morton on how to be a babyface. You understand what I'm saying? And simple match. We'd lock up, top wrist lock. I'd pull his hair, take him down. He'd fight up. I'd pull his hair. He'd fight up. I'd pull his hair. He finally, a little bit of heat, not much, but he reversed something coming off the ropes, got me in the sleeper. And at 19, not knowing nothing, I had to go. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I had to lay there. It was the sleeper. I was put to sleep. You know what I mean? But from then on, it just expanded. And man, I was lucky to get 15 years and wrestle everybody. And I am so proud of that, man. I'm so proud and blessed. I really am.
Yeah, you certainly had a who's who of opponents in the industry when you were involved, and we'll get to a lot of those. But I wanted to ask you, and you kind of set the table about the storied promotion that you broke in under Nick Gulas, as you said, the NWA Mid-America territory. Can you talk a little bit about what it was like working for Gulas? Because that's one of the names that some of the younger fans perhaps don't appreciate.
Well, I'm sure you heard, Nick Gulas didn't pay. He did this, he did that. He was good to me. I don't know what the deal was, but my real name is Patrick Smith, okay? But my wrestling name that Nick Gulas gave me is Pat Rose. He said, boy, you don't look like a Smith. You look like a Rose. From now on, your name's Pat Rose. And at 19, I'm like, okay, yes, sir. Hey, can I plug my phone up to the charger? I'm sorry. Let me do
No
that.
worries, sir. No worries. Yeah, if you look at in the annals of wrestling history, we hear a lot about the Crockett's and Eddie Graham in Florida, but Gulas is one of the names that was very important, along with the Welches, that a lot of people don't remember or talk about. So I'm interested in Pat continuing his thought process here. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, very much. Is what you just said is very true, man. And back in the day, nowadays, my son Camden, he plays country music, plays out for, open for Confederate Railroad, Shenandoah, just a number of people. But he's wanting to train to be a pro wrestler. And since January, we've been working toward that goal. And he's getting really good. And, as far as the history, he knows his history. You can ask him anything about wrestling, and he'll give you an answer. Whether it be wrong or right, he'll give you an answer. You understand what I'm saying? But Nick Gulas, it was big time. Nick Gulas, Roy Welch with Harry Thornton. Who Harry Thornton was a local TV show host that announced the wrestling. And let me show you this, man. This right here, can y'all see that pretty good? Yeah. This right here is the original mic that Harry Thornton used at WWF TV 12. And I was blessed to get it gift to me from Tom down in Ringo. And he got it from a big time DJ that was here in Chattanooga. And he said, hey, man, pick you out something. And he got this and he gifted it to me. So I'm proud to have this. But this is the mic that Harry Thornton used to interview guys like Jackie Fargo, Lynn Rossi, Bearcat Brown, Roger, Nature Boy, Rip Kirby, just who's who in old school professional wrestling.
Nice. Pat, could you talk about the time you defeated the Blonde Bombers and Wayne Ferris obviously went on to be the Honky Tonk Man in WWF. What were your thoughts on that character change for him? Or do you think it suited him well?
Oh my God, it was great. I love the Honky. I love Honky Tonk Man. As a matter of fact, Randy Hales is running a big show. I wish you guys could be there in Jackson, Tennessee, September 21. Dundee Lawler. That's who it's focused on. Cornette's going to be there. Danny Davis is going to be there. It's going to be a who's who of old school Memphis guys. Now, let me tell you a little story about this right here. This is a replica of the NWA Mid-America Tag Team Championships that Rocky Brewer and I won. I was 19 years old, and we beat Wayne Ferris and Larry Latham with their manager, Danny Davis, of the Blonde Bombers, man. And we learned, Wayne and Larry called us ham and eggers because that's what I was. You know what I mean? I was green as grass. And, wrestling those guys, they put us over in Nashville, and we won the belts and held them for a little while. And that was one of the biggest things to come down the road for me in my life, was to hold this at 19 years old, man. And I love those guys for doing it. They didn't have to do that. They didn't have to put us over, but they did. They did business. And, man, it was great. It was great working with them guys. Now, let me explain something to you. Not Rocky, me being a ham and egger. Okay, me and Rocky would be standing side by side. Wayne and Larry would be standing side by side. Okay, they would talk to us. Larry was coming this way to me. Wayne was going this way to Rocky. And you had to concentrate on what Larry was telling me. And I was hearing Rocky and Wayne talk, right? So what that taught us was to concentrate on what's going on right here. Does that make sense, y'all? You know what I'm saying? And I love that, man. And they taught us a lot. And just a matter of fact, I talked to Danny Davis a couple of days ago. He's going to Jackson, and I can't wait to see him. And it was like we just hung up the phone in 1986. I mean, the conversation came back. It was like we'd never missed a beat. Never missed a beat. And I love those guys. But you asked me, am I a honky man? Yeah, heck yeah. I love the honky tonk man. He was cool. And cocky and bad.
You mentioned Jim Cornette there as well. I seen there is a clip on his YouTube page about you specifically. Now I haven't actually got a chance to listen to it yet. Was he complimentary of your in-ring work?
He was. He said Pat was a good worker, and I traveled with him and Bobby and Dennis. And you talking about a fun time. We had a blast. And that's what he talks about, you know, us traveling together and eating at a, what was it, Western Sizzler. We have a Western Sizzler chain down here that has a buffet. And down in Louisiana, man, brother, you got shrimp. That's the first place I ate shrimp was in Louisiana. And God, we just had a ball. Had a ball with Jimmy Cornette. And yes, he talked about me good, said I was a good worker. And you don't hear that coming from Jimmy Cornette. You know what I'm saying?
Oh.
You don't hear that from Cornette.
Very, very rarely. And we'll talk about your tenure in Smoky Mountain in a bit, but wanted to shift after the Gulas territory. You made your debut in Georgia Championship Wrestling, and what a run you had there. Wanted to ask how that came about. But speaking of legends that we lost, and this is a big loss, wanted to get your impression of working. I know you wrestled Ole Anderson on television, and then dealing with him as I guess he had the book then and was in the office. That experience that you had with Ole.
I loved Ole Anderson. When I went to Georgia Championship Wrestling, he opened his arms to me. I think he liked me. He would use me good. He would book me good on Omni shows and Jasper, Georgia shows and flying up to Saginaw. That's the first time I started flying. But Ole took care of me, and I love Ole Anderson. And he was, to me, one of my childhood heroes, Ole and Gene. And I love Gene, man. God, they were the, what am I looking for here? They worked snug. And they were going to work snug, and that's what you had to do back. They respected you. You know what I'm saying? And I hate we lost Ole, and like I said, I love him to death, and he was good to me, and just a swell guy. Let me tell you a story. Like I said, Ole used to let me, Omni this and that, Marietta, booked me a lot, made me some good money, and I had got a win on Georgia Championship Wrestling over Del Veazey. And who Del Veazey was one of the top enhancement guys, carpenters, as Stan Hansen calls us. And I got a win over him. And you don't do that a lot on national TV. So here I am. I just got the win. I'm walking back through the control room, and there sat Ole Anderson and Ric Flair. And they said, "Hey, Pat, come here, man." I said, "Yes, sir." He says, "Hey, what are you doing now? Are you working another job?" And I had just had my daughter Erica, and they asked me, "Did I want to wrestle full time?" And I said no, because I had just had my little girl, and in the back of my mind, there's a lot of what ifs. Uh, what if I would have said yes? What if I would be dead right now with the guys from that area? You know what I'm saying? From that era. And yeah, there's a lot of what ifs, but I think I made the right decision to stay with my daughter and make sure strawberry shortcake gets put together and the whole deal. So, I made the right decision.
It kind of reminds me of something like we were only just talking about guys that we've obviously lost in the business, and the difference between, we'll say, the guys that were at the very, very top of their game. A lot of them didn't invest their money correctly, and then
Right.
a lot of people that we talked to maybe weren't at that level and got out of the business early, and they've led longer lives and maybe set up their own businesses and have done
Exactly.
that.
Exactly.
What I know we're kind of flashing forward, but I want to know, like, what did you do when you left the business, or did you have any
You know,
plans on what you were going to do?
you know what? I love those wrestling paydays. Loved them. Had a lot of good ones. When I got out of the business, I knew it was time to go to work. You know what I mean? So I went to Mohawk Industries in Dalton, Georgia, and I worked there for 20 years. I was supervisor, department manager, just whatever, and enjoyed every minute of it. I wasn't too good to work. I had to have a payday, and from there I went to BOU, which is another yarn company. That's what I done. I was in yarn, and went to there for 5 years. They shut down, and now I'm at M&M Industries. Have you ever seen the locking medicine bottle that clicks and locks?
Yeah.
That's right. We make that. and yeah, I'm there now, and I feel good. I'm getting in the ring with Camden. The kicks still feel good. The punches still feel good. Do I want to die in the ring? Heck no. But I'm training my son, and I have to step it up a little bit, And I'm thinking maybe one more year of work, maybe two, depending on how I feel. And then I'm going to get out and get up at 6 o'clock and watch the news. And here's what's going to happen. I've been doing a show called Set the Hook with Pat Rhodes. We've been doing it 17 years this coming January. And we talk to all the bass pros in the country, Kevin Van Dam, and it's changing. Like the wrestling business, the fishing world's changing. These people are moving out. These guys are coming in. And it's just great. I love fishing. I love professional wrestling. And we've been doing that for 17 years. And what's going to happen is I'm going to get time to spend and go out and talk to these people. And sometimes, hey, I'm Pat Rhodes works. And sometimes, hey, I'm Pat Rhodes doesn't work. And I'm prepared for that. When they say it don't work, I've got to sell it. When they say it works, I can ease back a little bit. You follow me? And that means on sponsors and paying money for the show. So what's going to happen is when I retire and I get time to go out and touch these people and shake their hands and this and that, I'm going to make more money than I've ever made. You watch. You watch. I have no doubt.
Absolutely. And this is kind of a good segue, but I wanted to ask you, I mean, you had, so many interesting TV matches with Georgia and then other places that we'll look at too. And that's the stamp of approval from the office that this guy can do his job. Like you said, a carpenter, and get the, get the other individual over. I noticed you wrestled Dusty on Dusty Rhodes on TV there, and I wanted to ask you how that came together, as well as your thoughts on Cody as the current WWE World Heavyweight Champion.
Brother, I love Dusty Rhodes. I love Cody Rhodes. Never met him, but I love him through his daddy. I used to take bumps messing around in the ring before the show for Dustin, just so his belly to belly would look good. And I'm taking bumps for him. But Dusty was a fisherman, and we used to talk fishing all the time. And I'd tell him, I said, Dusty, I caught a good smallmouth. I caught a big 5-pound smallmouth. He said, no, you did. No, you did. Dustin, come here. Pat telling me, and just go on and on. But that match with Dusty, it was an honor. It was an honor. Love Dusty Rhodes. He is professional wrestling. Hard times, baby. What an interview. What an interviewer. I still watch Dusty and superstar Billy Graham at Madison Square Gardens all the time. That is my favorite match. And, man, wrestling with him was an honor. And if you'd notice, when he was taking his stuff off, he stopped and went like that. What he was saying, come get me. Come get me. He wanted me to do it, get it. So I fed into that and faked him or whatever you call it. And then we had the match and whatever Dusty wants, I was there to hopefully make him look good. That was my job.
And before we talk about Mid-South, I'd be remiss, and I know you worked these guys again in Crockett, WCW, but you worked the Road Warriors on TV right at their embryonic stage of their career. Was that like being in a car crash, like some folks have said?
Yeah, it was. I love those guys. Let me tell you a little story first. The Road Warriors used to own Zubas. You know what Zubas are, right?
I own several pairs, Pat.
I do too. I still got them too. I still order. But they used to own Zubas. And me and Hawk loved each other. Me and Animal were cool. I knew him. He knew me. How you doing, Animal? Da-da-da-da. But Hawk and I had a special relationship, man. He rode a lot of trips with me and talked to me. And I'm not going to say what he said. It's nobody's business. Between me, him, and God. But he would bring me boxes of Zubas. I mean, boxes of big 3x3 boxes full of Zubas. And I would sell them to the boys $5 a pair. I bet you wanted to be around on that, but $5 a pair. And he and I would have the money. And I loved that. And I would grab me a pair every now and then, put them on, wear them, But yeah, wrestling the Road Warriors, I think only trusted me to make sure their bumps look good. My bumps for them look good. And I knew how to protect myself from getting hurt. And I never took the on the shoulders gimmick. I was scared of it. And I told them, I said, guys, I'd mess it up. I don't want to take it. And that's fine. That was fine. But I love working with them. I love selling for them. And I love getting them over. Look what they've done. You know what? Midnight Express, Road Warriors, top 2 teams in the business. Dennis and Bobby. And I still talk to Dennis today. As a matter of fact, my son Camden and I are going to go over to Huntsville. And Dennis loves, evidently, Mexican food, because that's all you see him post about is freaking eating Mexican food. So I'm going to go buy him a meal, him and his wife, Teresa, and let Camden meet Dennis Condrey. Dennis Condrey, in the day here in Chattanooga, was one of my favorite wrestlers. He was so cool and just looked good. And man, I always smelled good. He always wore some kind of cologne. And damn, it smelled good. But Dennis Condrey, loved him. Road Warriors, loved him. Paul Ellering knocked me out on Atlanta TV. Loved him. Loved him. Great guys. Great guys.
Just wondering what your experiences was like then working with Cowboy Bill Watts. We had his son Eric on the show a couple of days ago. Great guy, great stories. You can, if anyone wants to see that, they can catch up on it from last week. But any memories of working with Cowboy?
Oh man, working Mid-South, I loved it. Came in, I worked 4 days, guys. 4 days. I was in La Ranger. What La Ranger is a little building out in the woods, seated about 1,000 people maybe. But I worked La Ranger. I worked 4 other spots, and I got paid. And I cashed my check, and I took it back to Leroy's. All the underneath guys stayed at Leroy's Motel in Alexandria. And I laid it on the bed, and I had made $4,000 for the week, for 4 days. That's hard to believe, but that's what I made. And my Lord, I made good money in Mid-South. That's what it's about, is making money. And working for Bill Watts, he took care of me. Didn't make me look like crap, at all. Let me work some good matches. I loved working for Bill Watts. I love Grizzly Smith. I know you hear a lot of stories about Grizz, but man, he was good to me, and I was good to him. And Jim Ross, good guy, and he gave me the moniker, the most dangerous man in bass fishing, and that was through Tony Stewart. And I didn't realize what he was doing, giving me a moniker. And if I would have realized and picked that up and run with it, I would be known as the baddest fisherman in the country, But yeah, man, I loved working a lot of trips, a lot of long trips. You'd be in, everybody lived, Rock and Roll Midnight. Everybody lived in Alexandria. Some guys lived in Baton Rouge, but I lived in Alexandria. I was right in the middle of the state. And one night you'd be in New Orleans at the Superdome. The next night you got to go all the way to Oklahoma City, come back to Tulsa, and then come back home. That's a long ride, boys. That's a long ride. And then you'd be in Alexandria. You'd go to Lake Charles, over to Beaumont, over to Houston. Houston was great, man. That's the first place, and I don't mean this, whatever, but that's the first place I seen my brothers and sisters, the Mexican people, down in Houston. And I made a lot of good friends down there. I felt like I should be there. You know what I'm saying? Because I really don't know, where I come from as far as dad. Don't know my dad, know my mom a little bit, but other than I was raised by my grandmother, Annie Mae Stevens, here in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And one thing she told me, she said, Pat, if you hang around Tojo, you're going to get in trouble. And I thought that was so cute. I said, Granny, I'm not going to get in trouble. He's a good guy. And she always, she didn't like Tojo too much.
We're going to I'm going to ask you a fan question in a minute about the Rock and Roll Express, but since you brought up Tojo Yamamoto, wanted to ask you how you got booked in Memphis, and specifically you wrestled the Fabulous Ones, Kern and Lane, on numerous occasions, including the Mid-South Coliseum. Wanted to get your memories of wrestling them when they were the hot sensation for a while in the territory, and especially in that historic venue.
Oh my God, man. It was an honor. Steve Kern, Stan Lane. It was me, Tom Pritchard, and our manager, Sherry Martell. and she mentions us at the Hall of Fame ceremony that she had, and man, I was proud of that. But working with the Fabs was the greatest thing, man. We could go, all four of us could go, so we gave you good matches, man, and used to sell out Louisville, Memphis, and the whole deal, man, with the Fabs. And did we sell it out? The Fabs sold it out. We just gave them something to work for. You know what I'm saying? And geez, they were over. Everybody loved the Fabs. They were so cool. And Corvettes and freaking ring attire that just the little jackets with the tails and the whole deal, man. And it was an honor to work those guys, to wrestle those guys. And me and Tom Pritchard had a ball with them. Yeah, I mean, had a ball. And I got some good pictures of matches with the Fabulous Ones. And man, I need to look them up and get them recopied or something. Yeah, but great guys.
Did you have some of the problems not the problems, but when you're dealing with Jerry Jarrett, did you find those? I mean, the historical record, for better or worse, indicates that Jerry didn't pay very well there in Memphis. Was that your experience, even though you were working on top in the Coliseum with Pritchard and Martel in that tandem?
No, not at all, man. And a lot of people say that about him and Nick. And I didn't experience that. I got paid good. He took good care of us. Sure, we got that big payoff somewhere in the week that made our check. You know what I mean? Because he knew we'd work hard for him. He knew we would get whatever we had to do done. And no, he was good to us. He was good to me anyway. I can't speak for Tom, but he was good. He was good for us.
You worked like probably the most famous wrestler of all time at different stages of your career. He was known as the Master of Pain in USWA. You fought him in WWF, The Undertaker. Any memories of working over the years? He kind of done well for himself, didn't he?
Oh, he did, man. He did. Look, and I tell everybody that I helped train Undertaker, which I did. And if you would notice on that match, it was in Nashville, Tennessee. And on that match with The Undertaker, they announced me, right? And it was like I knew I was getting my butt kicked. And hey, Pat Rose from whatever. And I go, had that look on my face. And evidently I had swallowed. And Vince McMahon said, Pat Rose taking a big gulp before he gets annihilated from The Undertaker, blah, blah, blah. So we do the finish. Boom. He covers me 1, 2, 3, puts me in the body bag. I'm trying like heck to be still. And I'm saying, Mark, get me out of here, man. Hurry up. Let's go. And he was laughing, and he thought it was the funniest thing. Because I get claustrophobic, man. I didn't want to be in that deadgum body bag, but I did, and we made it to the back and just had a good laugh about it.
One of our fans here is asking a question. Ibzan is asking, who was the stiffest that you ever faced in the ring?
Buzz Sawyer, and that was a bunch of crap, man. But I knew Buzz for a long time, and he. I don't know why he done that. Because I took care of Brent. Let him stay at my house and let him travel with me and the whole deal. And Buzz was booking and took care of me. And one night in Saginaw, Michigan, he just come unglued. I mean, what the heck, man? Let's go. But Buzz, because he's crazy.
In terms of, you've wrestled so many Hall of Fame tag teams, and this tag team was a fan question. They wanted to get your impressions of, still extremely popular to this day, and I think working in the ring still. You mentioned Ricky earlier, but your experience with that Rock and Roll Express, another uber ultra hot tag team that fans that didn't experience it live probably wouldn't understand just how over they were.
You know, when I first started going back to wrestling, I take my son to the WWE shows in Chattanooga at UTC, and I was standing in line, and I had made a post about I shouldn't have to stand in line. I should be it feels like for me, I should be in the dressing room lacing my boots up, getting ready to go. And, you know, John Cena come out, and it was a pop, but it wasn't a Rock and Roll Express pop. You understand what I'm saying? When the Rock and Roll come out, oh my God, you felt it. You felt the pop, the screaming, the hollering, the little girls wanting to just touch them, you know, whatever. But working with the Rock and Roll Express, I got to do the Fabulous Fargo's gimmick with Don Fargo managing us in Pensacola. And I had a partner named Marcel Pringle, who his cousin is Percy Pringle, Paul Bear. And we got to wrestle the Rock and Roll Express at Expo Hall or it might not have been Expo Hall. It might have been the fairgrounds or something. But we got to wrestle those guys, and you talking about a good match. I love Ricky Morton. I love Robert Gibson. I still talk to Ricky today. My son talks to Kerry all the time. I got a picture of Kerry and Camden when Camden was about 8 and Kerry was about 11. Them locking up in the ring when they did the Hall of Fame thing over in Scenic City Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. And they were there, and I got a picture of Camden and Kerry locking up. But working the Rock and Roll Express, I would do anything for those guys anywhere in the country. If they needed me to lay down for them, I'd lay down for them. You know what I'm saying? But Ricky wanted you to work. Ricky'd work you. Ricky'd work you.
What about the Steiner brothers?
They like me. I like them. I didn't have. The only crazy bump I took was from Scott, and I trusted him. He got me up on his shoulders, climbed up to the second turnbuckle, and came off with me. And I just relaxed and took the bump, and it was easy. I liked the Steiners. They let me do stuff. They let me work. They let me wrestle with them. And the Steiners were great. They were great.
Along these lines, you wrestled the who's who in JCP, WCW, like many names. Just want to throw a few more at you after the Steiners, starting with Lex Luger. You faced on TV at least 3 times, I think, give or take.
Man, you know what? And Lex, if you go back and watch the match, he gave me much more than he was supposed to give me, I think. I would have been more on me because he's Lex Luger, man. He looks great. But he let me, he let me do a little cradle or a bow and arrow on him and a sit out and all kinds of stuff. And then when he done his finish, on your shoulders, it wasn't nothing, man. It was a night off. So if Lex, if you're watching, man, thank you so much for that match at Center Stage in Atlanta, man. I love that match, and I still watch it today, and it's still up. And man, what a guy! And I pray for Lex all the time. He makes posts every morning. Another day. Thank God for another day, and I love that guy.
And an interesting one from a couple of syndicated shows. You helped get El Gigante over in WCW in those handicap matches. How in the talk about a vote of confidence from the office? How in the world did you approach those matches?
No comment.
Fair enough. And last but not least, the man who just recently retired and made an appearance yesterday at the big AEW pay-per-view in the UK, and that would be Sting.
Oh, was he there yesterday?
Yes, sir.
Man, I love Sting. Got to work with him a lot in Memphis. I finally got to work with him at WCW, and I was excited. And I seen her name on the thing, and I went and looked for him. I said, Sting, we get to work with each other. And man, he was excited. First thing I do when we lock up, I poked him right in the eyeball. Hey, I'll be right back.
I love his positivity.
Great stories, man.
There's a couple of questions in there, Jack, if you want to read them out. Is Steve Austin a wrestler? There's one there at the corner. If you want to answer these.
Steve Austin?
Yes, I think we get people like Kelly watching the show that are, it's on my Facebook page as well, and I don't think that they normally watch wrestling. Do you want to take the first question?
That's what the channel is for, to educate folks as to the history of this great business. And yes, he certainly was. But this one, do I know of any male wrestlers who were defeated by a female wrestler? That would be one of your favorites. Do you know who that is, Morris?
Well, China would have beaten a lot of male wrestlers.
But one in particular.
She won the Intercontinental Championship.
Jericho.
And I'm back, y'all.
Mark Merrill.
Female wrestlers that beat male wrestlers. Let me tell you about that match. In the Omni, Joyce Grable and Judy Martin, I think, Steve O, and somebody. You talking about a good match. I don't know who got the win or who went over, but you talking about a good match. That was a good match, man. If it's still on the air, go look and see if you can find it.
And of course, Jeff Jarrett famously dropped the Intercontinental title to China. That's the other one that comes to mind.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
And he's still wrestling too.
Talking about Jeff Jarrett, I helped train him in a roundabout way. He was young. His dad would put him with me. I had the honors of doing the Fernum on him in Evansville, Indiana, and I got scared, couldn't do it, didn't want to hurt him. And, man, we used to have good matches. He was good back in the day. I mean, when he first started, he was good. And I could imagine, after all of his experiences, how he is today. I'm sure he's great. I mean, I watched him on TV, the whole deal, and Jeff Jarrett, number one.
Yeah, I got to agree with you. I've met him several times in TNA, et cetera, and just a top-notch talent. Were you going to say anything else about Sting, Pat?
Just that I poked him right in the eyeball, man. I was so, and if you watch the match, you can see where we lock up, and he's doing this. And yeah, that's where I poked him right in the eyeball. And I felt so bad about that because I wanted to work with him so bad that I don't know what happened. I was just nervous or something. I don't know, but golly.
Here's an interesting question again from Ibzan. He's asking that we've got a couple of times. What do you do to pass the time on TV taping days? I guess that depends on the company, correct?
Yeah, it does, man. You get there 20 hours early. It feels like 20 hours early, but you sit around, talk, shoot the shit with the boys. go eat, go to catering, just hang out with the guys, just have a good time. Just have a good time. Then you get dressed and still hang out. So,
Pat, I'm just wondering how the opportunity came for you to start working for the WWF then as well.
I was on my way out. This was the early 90s, and I was on my way out. The body was going. I got into a butcher, the whole deal, to cover up the body. And I got booked in Huntsville, Nashville, and that Chattanooga loop. And I was close, and they booked me and got to work for them. And it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure. First thing Shawn Michaels said, "Hey, Pat Rhodes, I want to party with you." I don't know what that meant, but that's what he said. And that's where I got my picture with Ric Flair. And it was because of Brian Knobs of the Nasty Boys. He said, "Pat Rhodes, get your picture with Flair." I said, "Well, heck, okay, sure." So he took a picture of us. Back in the day when they were cameras, they were freaking Polaroids that when you did the gimmick and went, made all kind of noise and stuff. But still got that picture today, man. Really enjoyed working with WWE. Got to meet Hulk Hogan for the first time. He walked in with his family, and I stood up, "Hey, how you doing, sir?" And shook hands with him. He probably don't remember that, but I understand, But, yeah, it was fun.
Did you find him a very humble guy? Because a lot of people we talk to have nothing but positive things to say about Hulk.
He was cool. I mean, he's Hulk Hogan. He can do what he wants to do. At that time, he was over. He was the star. He was the company. So for him to, I stood up and shook his hand. He looked me in the eye. And, yeah, super nice guy. Super nice guy.
Have to ask if you had any interactions while you were doing the shots for the WWF with Mr. McMahon.
Hello, how are you? He knew who I was, and I thought that was cool. But just a handshake and a "how are you, sir?" No talking or no bullshitting like that.
One of the interesting facets of your career that I wanted to ask as a longtime original ECW fan is you're working with Rob Van Dam in '93 on WCW Saturday Night. What that experience was like, given the fact that some folks say when he was younger or whatever, he wanted to really, to use the terminology, get his shit in, that sort of thing, hesitant to listen to a veteran. Was that your experience or not?
And that's what we did. That's what we did because he was coming up and he was going to be a big star. And everybody knew that. And whatever I could do for him on the way up, I would do. I would do it today. Rob Van Dam, I still talk to him. We still text back and forth. And Rob Van Dam, what a career. What a career that guy has had. And super guy. And I would do the same match today. I would get him over.
What did you find that the biggest difference was then, Pat, in between working for WWF and WCW? Now, a lot of people answer this with the payday, but if there's more to it than that, could you elaborate on it?
Pay for me was about the same as WCW. They took care of me. And it was about the same payday. Only thing different, maybe a little better catering. Maybe a little better catering, better food, and stuff. Are you going to ask me a question about Mr. Wrestling too?
Yes, actually, but go ahead.
Are you ready? Man, I got to tell the story, and I tell this on every interview that I get, and I appreciate you guys wanting to interview me, and and stuff like that. But I got to tell you, Mr. Wrestling 2 was my childhood hero. I amateur wrestled at Dade County High School here in Trenton, and each week I would have 5 guys wanting to take my starting position. And I wasn't going to let them take my starting position. I kicked their ass. And what I would do on the bottom of my gym bag, I had a picture of Mr. Wrestling 2, and I would turn it over. And when I needed 2, I would just look. And that would fire me up. Does that make sense, guys, or am I crazy?
Makes sense.
You know what I mean? And I got the opportunity to wear this right here with Mr. Wrestling 2 with Southeastern Championship Wrestling. Wrestling 2 called me when Camden was playing a show in Rome, Georgia. And actually his son, Robert, called me. And he says, hey, man, Dad wants to talk to you. And he put 2 on the phone, and I had Camden standing there with me. And we were looking at each other, and he couldn't talk. He just cried. And I cried. And I told him, I said, 2, I love you, man. I love you. And he understood that. And 2 weeks later, he had passed away. Did he know? Is that why he called me? You know what I mean? And for me, wearing that hood right there was the best thing in my life. Now, you talking about kayfabe. When we would be in the car, we would be 30 miles out of Dothan, Houston County Farm Center. He would say, Pat, put the hood on. Don't look left or right. So here I am. You know, I'm still a young kid in the car wrestling 2, looking straight. Don't you dare look over, because they have been going crazy. You could feel their movement over here. Hey! You could feel their movement. And we still, no, don't look over. And we would kayfabe, and man, what a guy. I was so honored to be Wrestling 2's partner. And we looked good. I was in shape. I was the younger guy. But we looked good. We looked good together. And he went to New York, and they took the hood off me and put me with Randy Rhodes, another great partner, original Midnight Express, the whole deal. And they put the Southeastern belts on us, and I got a replica of that in there. I had the real one, but I got a replica of that. And man, just an honor to work for Ron Fuller. And Ron came to one of Camden's shows. He was playing in Gatlinburg, and Ron and his wife came to the show and watched Camden play. And that was big time for Camden and me, you know. But this right here, that's a great memory, man. I love 2 to death. Love it.
And some of the greatest tag matches of all time with Wrestling 2 and his ongoing feud with the Andersons. My goodness, they don't make them like that anymore, do they?
Oh my! Did you ever notice how he takes bumps and how he sells and how he makes a comeback? It's so intense. And that gum arm to the gut, shoot him off, and that arm to the gut. He does this. He uses both hands. Yeah, boom, and nails him in the gut, and they sell it. And then there's, what is it? The big knee, man. The big knee. Golly. They were great. Wrestling 2 and Tim Woods. Oh, my God. And they actually called us Mr. Wrestling 1 and 2. But Mr. Wrestling number 1 is Tim Woods, by no means. Am I Mr. Wrestling 1? Mr. Wrestling 1 is Tim Woods. Call me Mr. Wrestling 247 or whatever. But, you know, I'm not Mr. Wrestling 1.
Yeah, absolutely. Psychology and selling that's missing for the most part in the business today. We touched on it earlier, but wanted to just find out how you did those shots with Smoky Mountain prior to leaving the business in 93 and 94, I believe it was.
Yeah, I had brought, you remember Bob Holly, Hardcore Holly? I brought him up to Cornette from Pensacola. And Cornette loved him. And Bob Holly had a good career at WWE. But I was going up and doing TVs for Jim. And that's about all I'd do was TVs. And I was on the way out and just had a good time. It was on the way out. And I appreciate Jim using me, and hopefully he's always, thought good thoughts about me and stuff like that. So, yeah, it was just to have something to do on the way out to make a payday. Yeah.
And one of the major topics that this channel tries to establish and cement is the history of the business and how important, not that you were exclusively in an enhancement role, but you did some enhancement work. Wanted to get your impression as to the fact that the business has moved away, it seems, from enhancement and the crucial role that they played back when a lot of fans believe wrestling was at its pinnacle. Do you think that was a mistake? And do you think that there should be some recognition for enhancement guys in Hall of Fames, especially the WWE Hall of Fame?
I totally do. Because if it wasn't for me, if it wasn't for George South, if it wasn't for the Italian Stallion, if it wasn't for Mike Jackson, if it wasn't for Randy Barber, those guys, who would have trained them? And when I say train, I don't mean go out there and train them. I mean taking bumps for them, making them look good. You know what I'm saying? I wish the guys that are superstars now, like Stan Hansen, okay? Have you ever heard him speak of underneath talent? He puts us over like $1 million. He calls us carpenters. Carpenters, and that's the word I use. I'm not a jobber. I hate that word. I'm a carpenter. And I knew what my job was. If I was on first, if I was on second, if I was on third, my job was to go out there and get them people up. I don't care who won. It ain't about that. It's about that. It's about that pop. It's about that pop. You know what I'm saying? And then when the rock and roll comes out, they're ready. Then when Ric Flair comes out, they're ready. So do I think there's a spot for the Carpenters in the WWE Hall of Fame? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And I'm sure that George agrees. I'm sure that Mike Jackson agrees. I'm sure, well, I can't agree, he's passed away, but I'm sure if he was here, Randy Barber would agree.
As does Bret Hart said it.
It's just saying thank you for what you did. And them, if Triple H acknowledged that, it would bring me to tears. It would bring me to tears. Now, your Hall of Fame, you got guys like Arn Anderson and the Four Horsemen. Totally deserved. I cried when I seen that. Ric Flair, I cried when I seen that. Totally deserved. But ours would be more of a thank you. I don't have to make a big speech. I don't have to. But thank you for what you've done for our sport. You're a carpenter. That's just my opinion, guys.
Well, we couldn't agree more based on all the talents that we've had the pleasure of speaking with on that issue over the years. Hopefully that comes to pass. We've got time for one last fan question, and this is a good one. Do you have any stories about Buddy Landel, old Budro?
Oh my God! Something I can tell, or
No filter here. You can say whatever you want.
oh my God! I ain't gonna tell that one. I traveled a lot with Buddy. I love Buddy Landel to death. I miss talking to Buddy Landel. We would travel in Mid-South together, meet him and Butch Reed. And one night we were coming back to Alexandria. Buddy lived there and Butch lived there. And we'd run out of gas. Buddy didn't get no gas. Butch was hot. He was livid. And I'm in the back seat. And Butch said, Pat Rhodes, get out and flag down the car. It was pitch black dark. I said, I ain't getting out and flagging no daggum car down. They'll kill me. And Butch got out. Big black man. Oh, my God. Muscles. You know Butch Reed. Here we go. He's walking out in front of the car. The car stops. And, man, he got us gas. I was scared to death. But traveling with those guys was great. I love Buddy Landel. All right, I'm gonna give you a little bit. I was living in Nashville off of Fessler's Lane in a trailer park, whatever, and I hear a knock on my door. So I go to the door. It's Buddy. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. He ain't been home. He said, Pat Rhodes, can I take a shower at your place? I said, well, sure, buddy. Come on in. And he throws something over on the kitchen table, bloop, and went and took a shower. He said, get some if you want some. And no, I can't do it. And he come back out and finally went home. But we met Donna, his wife, at one of where the exit in is in the parking lot. And Donna got out, and I had long, pretty black hair, right? And I'm sitting kind of window. Buddy can't tell the story anymore, so I'll take it from here. I was sitting at the window like this in my long hair. She thought I was a girl. She opens the door, grabs me by the hair, pulls me out. What are you doing, this girl? And she says, no. And Buddy says, no, Donna, it's Pat Rhodes. It's Pat Rhodes. Oh, my God. That was the funniest thing. And, man, I tell you what, Buddy Landel, number one with me. I love him. Dangerous driver, but I love him.
Yeah, another legend gone too soon, as they say. Pat, we have just burned through our time, but I want to give the fans an opportunity to, like, if you've enjoyed these stories.
Hey, pull that down.
You got the real one there?
Go. There's the new cover.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, that's the new cover. That's me. I got Billy Joe Travis in a chicken wing. I wasn't going to let him up. Billy Joe Travis, I love him to death. But, man, I tell you what, I ordered these things, and like I told you guys before, do you have time? I ordered 25 thinking it would be a flop, and a day and a half, they were sold. We were sold out. So I ordered more Friday, and they will be here in 11 days. And some of the pictures in here are just cool as crap. Stuff you can't get anywhere else, man. Anywhere else. Look at that. The Road Warriors, Randy Rose and I, the whole deal. Ric Flair, me and Camden, Tojo. Let's see. Right there is Tojo. You see it? Can you see it okay?
Yes, sir.
Man. And I'm so blessed that you guys want to hear my story, man. That's cool.
Well, I definitely want to get my copy, but where can the fans how can they keep in touch with you on social media, number one, and number two, where can they grab your book when it's restocked, sir?
Man, we got a couple places you can go to. Go to just Pat Rose, and I have another social media deal. It's called Set the Hook with Pat Rose, which is a fishing show. And go there and DM me, and my son Camden keeps track of all this, and he'll hook you up. As a matter of fact, my son Camden is training to be a professional wrestler. Now he still plays country music, and is open for Shenandoah, Confederate Railroad, just a bunch of them. But he's really doing good. He's got great mic skills, which I didn't have coming up. I couldn't talk if my life depended on it. But he's got good mic skills, and he's a good little wrestler. He's doing really well. So hopefully we'll get him out there on the road and the whole deal. But just message me if you want the book. It's $25. Just the book. If you want it personalized, $40. So.
Well, I would encourage the fans to check that out. I feel like we've just scratched the surface over your illustrious career, and want to encourage the fans again to keep in touch with you, follow you on your platforms, and definitely get the book. But most of all, thank you for your time today, sir.
Man, this has been a fun interview. Thank you for all the interesting questions, man. I appreciate guys like you guys and the Dublin guy. Love the accent. Man, thank you so much.
No problem. We'll get you and your son maybe on a show someday. That'd be cool.
Sure. Let him sing for you.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, fans, that has been an epic edition of the Cheap Heat Productions Pro Wrestling Podcast with Mr. Pat Rose. Again, check him out on social media. Look for the book, and we will see you next time. Actually, tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern, we'll have another live interview with one I'm looking forward to, and that is the premier Dusty Rhodes cosplay individual out there. He's getting a lot of attention with the Federation through Cody. Mike Raimondo. Look for that, and we'll have more content. Hit that subscribe button for this channel and the notifications, and like the video, please, and we will see you next time.
Thank you very much for watching this video. Please subscribe to the channel if at all possible. It would really help me out. And don't forget, you could